Welcome to the Sacred Emergence Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Wong, and I'm so thrilled that you're here. This is a place where you'll be guided to living your most aligned life so that your truest, most radiant self can emerge. We'll be jamming on topics ranging from spirituality, entrepreneurship, to wellness and lifestyle design, and everything in between that can support you to grow, evolve, and shine, all the while not taking ourselves too seriously. So if you're ready to step into your leadership, break through limiting beliefs, own all of who you are, and expand in abundance, grab yourself your faith cup of tea and let's dive in. Hello, beautiful listeners. It's Michelle Wong here. So I am so excited for today's episode. I have the honor of interviewing my coach, Jana Kingsford, and I wanted to pop on and give a brief intro to this interview because pretty early on in our talk, I referenced the Queens of the Internet. And so both Jana and I were on Queens of the Internet, and this is a summit that was created by our mentor, Melanie Enlayer, which if you've heard my past episodes, you would have heard my referencing Melanie. And so Jana was one of the OG, one of the original summit speakers. And then I came on a little later when Melanie opened the door for allowing the space to reach more women, for Black Lives Matter, and for women of color. So that's what we were talking about when I referenced Queens of the Internet. That's how I heard about Jana. That's how I got to know her more. And if you are interested in just hearing some of the interviews and some of the talks on Queens of the Internet, I have a link to the Facebook group in the show notes, and all of the amazing speakers are there. Enjoy this episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Sacred Emergence. Oh my God, I'm so excited. So today I have with us on the call, Jana Kingsford, who is my coach. Jana is joining us from Australia. She is the big dreams genie of the internet. Welcome, Jana.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, that intro was so cute. I loved it so much. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my God, I just love your vibe and I'm so excited you're here. And before we even hit record, we were just talking about what you do.
I don't know, it depends on the week.
So you and I just got off the belief ethics training, which was so epic. I really needed it. And so Jana, you're just incredible. Your vibe is incredible. And you were on Queens of the Internet back in April and May. And I just had so much fun watching you that I was like, oh my God, who is this chick? And you're all in purple. I love you. You have all the vibes. And I'm just so excited that I get to be your coachee.
Oh, I am so honored. I love it. It's it went down in the history books, and I always kind of knew that. I was just busy doing my work in the back end. 7 years coaching women to their six figures, and then I'm like, when's going to be my time? But I'm just going to show up for 2,555 days without having the full results that I knew that I could be having. And then that was my moment. That was my time. And I was just like, today's the day. 9th of May. Today's the day. I just knew it. And it's just I fully showed up and everybody was there. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah.
You were so much fun. Your talk was just super fun. And I was like, holy cow. And the way you were able to contain your energy and still let the energy flow through you. I think there were over 111 viewers. That was amazing. Yeah.
Oh my God. I think everybody watched as my energy built as more people come on, and I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I was like, oh my God, how does Melanie do this? There's 100 people, and every time a new person, I'll be like, oh my God, there's 101. Oh my gosh, did 111? There's 111 people here. I can't even handle it. And I couldn't hide it because I was so excited. And yeah, but at the same time I know that the channeling is going to come through, and the best priming for the channeling for me gets to be fully exhilarated excitement and not holding back any of my energy, because when I hold back my energy, I get in the energy of lack and I get into my head, and it's not even good. And I can have trainings go two ways. If I'm in my head, and I didn't let my energy lead at the start. If I'm not in my excited, ridiculous, and sometimes I'm in a really grounded energy, and sometimes I'm just like flying high as a kite, and just letting myself be whatever that energy is and going with the energy instead of restricting the energy. Because what are they going to think? They're going to think you're too much. They're going to think that I can't handle this energy. And a lot of people said that they couldn't even sit with the first, couple minutes. But then when they let themselves sit with it, they realized that my OTT-ness, my over the topness, was like triggering their vibes of like, I want to be like that's me. And I'm holding myself back ridiculously. And you're just showing me right then and right in that moment how much I hold back online and holding back the energy of that.
Yeah, that's actually really like, it's true, because I follow you on Facebook, on Instagram, and you show up so not like authentic, yes, but you just let what wants to come through. So like you're really like your heart on your sleeve, and like I just feel you. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes, I
You.
love that you feel that. It's not really, it was like what we were talking about before this call. There's no rhyme, there's no reason. And when everybody asks me for a bio, I'm like, it depends on the week. It could be personal branding this week. It's basically whatever I'm launching, because whatever I'm launching is whatever I'm vibing with. So it's like today it's sales. That's the vibe this week. That's what I'm good at this week. This is what I'm like teaching. But it's personal branding. It's all these personal branding, life workers, doing what you love for a living, making lots of money, six figures, creating your 6-figure life workers business. Depends on the week. But with me, that's the thing. The bio kind of puts me in a box, but obviously I can come up with a great bio, but it depends on the week. And I don't know what my point was there. I think I had a point, but I lost the point because I got really excited about bio in a box. I'm like, oh, that's good content. Oh yeah, it's about my vibe on the internet. So there's no rhyme or reason. It's just tuning. I have content containers that keep me grounded, as in frameworks for me to freestyle, because my freestyling self loves to just like throw spaghetti and like, oh, an experimentalist, like, oh, that worked, oh, that didn't work, no, that really hits people. Why did people buy from that post? Why do people react to that? That was only one line. I get really curious and I get really excited about figuring out my flow. And that's what I do. Like, that's why I named my mastermind that you're in, which is so good. The Figure Six Mastermind. It's figuring out your flow. People are like, oh, I come into the 6 figures. It's like, let's figure out your 6-figure flow. Figure it out. Figure out your little pieces that make you tick. Figure out what you do in the field. Figuring it out. So that makes it really fun. So yeah, the way that I show up on social media is just, here's how I feel right now in this moment.
I love it.
On a page.
I love it. And so right now you're traveling around Australia with your family. So that's your home, your caravan, like your, is it called your caravan?
Yeah, we call it a caravan. I think you guys call it, like, what do you guys call them? RVs or
an RV?
vans?
Yeah,
an
RV.
We call them caravans. Yeah, we call it. I think they call it a trailer, and that sounds like trailer crashing. Not that.
RV.
Hashtag van life. It's very luxurious. So here, obviously, we're in resorts all the time because Australia is like really made for caravanning, trailers, and there's no permanence in caravan parks. It's like resort life. Like, people with families go to these places where there's a tennis court here, there's 2 jumping pillars there, there's water parks over there. I'm looking at a BMX track for kids' bikes, and there's a playground there. There's two pools there. There's an outdoor movie cinema. There's a gym over there. There's like, it's a whole thing. And so we get to live at all these. And when the kids, I don't know how we could ever live in a house. I can't have 2 jumping pillars in the background, a tennis court, a mini golf course, a gym, an outdoor movie center. They've got new standards now. But yeah, so we travel around Australia with my family of 5. We live the van life. We've literally been in our caravan for 18 months. This all started from a story 3 years ago where we were just weighed down with the monotony and the mediocrity of life, of just doing the same thing every day. Our kids were in school. And so you get up, you make the kids lunches, you get them dressed, you yell at them to get dressed because they don't want to get dressed, because they don't want to go to school. And so every day was this same like treadmill. And I had created this big 6-figure business. And I was like, this is not how I pictured it. Getting kids up, ready for school, going to school. They come home, do your freaking homework, do your homework, and get them to do their homework. And you can't go out. So people ask you, oh, do you want to go out for dinner? It's like, no, it's a school night. We've got to have the kids in bed by 7, because if not, then by 7, it's a shoe show the next day. So it's like get the kids to bed at 7. And I would literally be so wrecked from school runs and getting kids ready for school and homeworks and taxiing, like driving from place to place, really like short amounts really drains my energy. And school runs after 13 years, I was like, I am done. I'm like, I can't do this. How do people do this for like 25? You realize like the first year it's fine with the kids being at school. You're like, school runs, yeah, it's so fun. I get to have 5 hours a day. And then you go 3 years in, 4 years in, every single weekday, 5 years in, 7 years in, 10, and you're like, I've got this many kids. I'm doing this for another 20 years. And you're just like, oh my God, by the time I finish, it's 30 years of freaking school runs. I just can't even. I just can't even. So yeah, we fully like made over our life and we just changed it up just a little bit, just a tad.
Just a tad. So
just a bit, tiny bit.
That's so cool. So you've been traveling around Australia for 18 months, for a year and a half?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that.
Well, it's actually 3 years technically nomadic. So 3 years ago we left our house and we put it up on the market. It didn't sell. So we just fully traveled the first year paying mortgages and car payments and traveling. So it was a whole thing. So we traveled, we did one lap of Australia around, like did the big lap, which is like the big Australian dream, which the first year was very much like a pilgrimage. We came home to Noosa, put the kids back in school, but rented like an Airbnb for the year. We did Airbnbs for the year because we didn't want to settle down. So we're technically still nomadic in that second year. And then the last 18 months we've been in our caravan. We bought a brand new caravan in cash. The guy was like, what do you do? To Mark. He said that to Mark. He's like, what do you do? And he's like, she has an online business. He's like,
oh. I love that. I love that the guy asked Mark, your husband, and it to you.
They always do.
She makes the bank.
Yeah. She's like the cash cow. He points to me, that's the cash cow, not me. I just like do my thing.
Oh, I love that.
That's definitely a point of healing that we've had. That's for sure. Because everybody just asks him. They go, what do you do? Like, you've got this new car, you buy cash and caravan, you buy your caravan in cash. It was like totally our dream caravan and our dream car in cash. And like, we do all these experiences. It's like, what do you do? And they look at him. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing that I love about you. It's like you keep like during trainings, you talk about like how you had like a low IQ, and I'm like, how does Jana, and it's like you poke at it, because I just feel like the whole IQ test is ridiculous, because you have a genius mind. Like the names of your programs are so fun, but they make so much sense. Like Belief Ethics. At first I was like, Belief Ethics, that's a really interesting name. But you're like, no, it's athletic for your beliefs. So Belief Ethics. I'm like, oh my God, that's genius. And then you have like Figure 6, which I think is genius. And then you have Me Brand Membership. And then you have this strategy called Oneology. And it's like, it's very like memorable. And like, I will sit down and try to come up with program names, and I'm struggling because I'm trying to get it perfectly, but your mind works so magically. And even like with the Courage Quest, that was like, I was like, Courage Expander. You're like, just call it Courage Quest. I'm like, Jana's brain is like magical word formation. How do you do that?
Oh my God. I would say that word, magic word formation. What can I do with that? I don't know. Like, one of my favorite things was years ago, I used to say, because I was a mummy blogger, that was back in the day. I've been blogging since 2011, writing to the stuff to the internet. It was like 24 people that I used to write my blog for. I used to say, unjuggle your juggling act. And I was like, it's such a long sentence. How can I make this one word? I want to make it one word so it's memorable, so it's stickable, so it sticks in their head, so it's memorable, so it's referable. They can always refer to it, and they can always remember, what does this mean? Unjuggle your juggling act is not a sentence. It's a way of life. It's a way of being. So it makes sense that it's not a sentence. It's a word. It's a state of being. It's a word that describes a state. I was like, I played with words, and I'm like, unjuggle your juggling act. Unjuggled. I looked it up. Is this a website? No, it's not a website. Does it have a domain? No, buy the domain. Do I need to trademark it? I don't really care. People always know that it originated from me anyway. So the amount of names that I have, I'd be trademarking names every single day. So I don't do that. But unjuggled came to me, and I realized once I had that, I was like, this turned up the palpability and the lickability of my content. Like, you can lick it. It's so tangible, you can lick it. I literally just came up with the training today. So I think it's a way for me because every day I'm doing my beliefs, right? And I'm working on my belief ethics, and I'm working on my athletics around my beliefs. And a lot of the names come from that, because I'm like, how do I get them results from this? Like, how do I get them to get this? How do I get them to get this? How do I get them to get this? And they have to get it as an energetic capsule. So if I can give it to them as an energetic capsule, and I'm like, this is my purpose, universe, show me, like, how do I get them to get this and remember this and refer this? Because what I used to know, being in self-development and self-improvement and reading like self-help books since I was like 14 and just devouring it, the only way I could retain it, which I found is actually a learning difficulty, one of my that my son has, is retaining information and being able to say it back and explain it back. I can't even, I've got an English degree, but I can't even explain words. Like Michael will say, what does that word mean? I'm like, it just means that. I don't get, like, I can't describe words. So unless I've personalized them in a sense, like I can't remember the word that he said, but just like, I don't know, barbecue. Be like, what does a barbecue mean? It just means a barbecue. Like, that's what it means. You know what I mean? Like, it just, I can't describe it. And I could never really recall information. And and that's actually the problem that my son's having at the moment, not being able to retain and recall information. And the only way is to have like a reference point. And so if I look back to when I was a kid and the way that I learned to read and write for myself, which I was literally like pretty much illiterate, and then I got an English degree in the end, is I took a big word like together, and I broke it into 3. I'm like, oh my God, it's and I went around to my classmates at school and I went, do you know that together, that word is to get her? It's like 3 words. And then it's like, you're so weird. I'm like, it's to get her. And I remember this still. So I was like in grade 2 and I still remember this moment, to get her. Oh my God, if you break it down into that, you can remember it. And when I can remember it, when I've got an anchor point, I can remember it. And I think that's what I've done to sort of work with my genius, which obviously doesn't work in with the mainstream genius levels metrics, and work with mine. And that's how I make it so it sticks. And that's my purpose, is I've got to get you guys to feel capable of your big dreams, and I want it to stick so that you can recall it when you're in the field later on down the track. I'll walk away. But yeah, so you can recall it later on when it's like down the track, when you need the information. I've got a blower, as per usual.
A blower, like a lawnmower?
Yeah, like a leaf blower.
Oh, gotcha.
Or maybe he's going. I think he's going. It's just a lawn blower over here.
Oh, I see.
They do that every day. They got to keep the resort nice and clean, but it's very annoying for me. Yeah.
So like, I love how, so Jana does her business on Facebook Lives, on basically Facebook and Instagram. And so I just love how you're so mobile.
Yeah.
So life.
I know. I could go live anywhere. I can create videos doing anything. Yeah, Facebook and Instagram are my main. I actually did a training last year. It was called 6 Figures from Facebook. Because I realized when my husband would talk to other people, like they say, "What's she do?" He's like, "She's posts on Facebook and she does stuff and sells stuff on Facebook." I'm like, it's not just Facebook. Oh yeah, it is. And Facebook and Instagram, but like, oh my God. I literally realized he's basically saying Facebook was my business. He would explain me as she is a Facebooker. That's not a thing, but anyway. But then I realized, oh, maybe it actually is a thing, because I never identified how much of my work, like 100% of it, came from Facebook and Instagram. Like, where else does it come from? I don't have a website. I don't have internet marketing. I don't have an email list. I have nothing, because I shut all that down on purpose, because I get distracted too easy and I need things to be simple. So yeah, it was like one of those epiphanies, because he had said it to other people. And I realized, like, wow, I make 6 figures from Facebook. And I think when you know that, you put more effort into like the energetic state that you show up to the platform in. And I think you get a little bit more dedicated and a bit more like focused. Like, oh, this is my place of business. This is my place of branding. This is the place of me, myself. This is the place. This is my world, you know?
I love that. Okay, so you were recently featured in an Australian newspaper. Yeah, it was so amazing. So so here's like, well, you can share your story of what they shared, but there was one line near the end. It was like, it shouldn't have happened for you. Like, you shouldn't like just based on your story, you shouldn't have been able to be like a traveler with your family, having their freedom lifestyle. But apparently somebody forgot to tell Jana that. That's like my favorite line in the article.
That was my favorite too.
Yeah. So can you kind of share briefly like your story and how you got to where you are?
Oh, I love that. That was my favorite line as well, because that's not the first time I've heard that. It's like somebody forgot to tell Jana that you shouldn't be able to do what you do. You're a high school dropout, you are a teenage mom, you have a low IQ, you're not supposed to be having 100K months. It's not in your trajectory. That's not what we had set out for you. That's not what society set you up to be. That's not how we had you pegged. That's not how we had you pinned. We thought, based on those stats of high school dropout, teenage mom, low IQ, we know where you're sitting
right
in the spectrum. And I very much, one of the things that really spurred me on was being, when I was teenage mom sitting there with my daughter, I realized I was now a stat. I was a teenage mom, high school dropout. I knew I was a stat. I felt like a stat, and something kind of rose up and rejected that. I just like, this is not my trajectory. This is not what I'm open to being pegged with. This is not what I'm open to being like remembered for. And I'm more than this. And so I really felt like every sort of like everything in me rose up in a way that I've got to break out of this. And it was like an inflection point. It was a very specific inflection point where I went from basically being a stat and then making a really definitive decision. I'm not going to be a stat. What do I got to do? And I started big dreaming. And the big dreams were go to university. I'm a high school dropout. Okay, get the highest level of education you can possibly get. So I did that. And also you've got a low IQ. So how do we develop your brain, learn more, study more, work on it more? Just every day I was working on it every single day, learning new things, learning and implementing, and like getting up early as well. One of the things that I used to do is really get up early because I know that my brain works better in the morning. And so I was working with the way that I worked instead of against it. And that was really the thing. That was mainly the thing, is going from high school dropout, teenage mom. The big dream is the thing that completely changed my energy and completely changed my trajectory. And in the first couple of months of university, you know this story, but like in the first couple of months of university, I had that like moment. And so I had that moment in that like first couple of months, and I knew that I was doing it to help people feel capable of their big dreams. So I knew that in the first few months, and I knew that it was like, that was my purpose. And I wasn't even doing the university for me anymore, like the university degree for me. It was A, to obviously not be a stat, B, was to break out what box that they had put me in. And so it gave me the motivation, it gave me the push. And then everything since then has kind of been from my side of the spectrum.
Yeah. I love that. And look at you now.
I know, and look at me now, not a stat.
No, you like broke through. It's so amazing. Yeah.
You got to find what drives you, that's for sure. You got to find that driver.
So, you just show up. Like, you just show up so magically. Do you ever I mean, I know the answer to this. Like we all have self-doubt. We all have like, what the heck? Like, but like when I see you online and the way that you teach, it's so grounded, so with confidence. Like, is it because you do your own belief ethics work?
I think, I don't know, because I just did, but years ago, I used to think I was really inconsistent.
Inconsistent?
I was just like, yeah, I didn't think that I showed up in the way that other people thought that I showed up. I'm like, I'm really inconsistent. So I think for me, I'm pretty sure like the showing up in the capacity that I do now is letting myself go with the energy. And even if it feels like too much, I let myself go with it. And then I build like a momentum that I get to piggyback on later. And also with showing up, I have so many things in place that make me show up. Go live every day, that the Go Live 365 that makes me show up every day. Now I've put a thing in because I haven't been writing, so I'm like, I joined the 600 club, so I'm going to write 600 words a day. That's going to make me show up, because I know what drives me, and what drives me is not just doing things for myself, it's doing things for you guys. So that's, you've got to find your driver, and it might not be the driver you're meant to have. Just like how I crashed the 100K month is literally like a 100K month is literally because my client's like, I can't crack 45, you've never done it, so I don't think I can. I'm like, well, my dear, watch this. And I just did it. We fully remember that moment.
I remember, hold my beer, watch me do it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I love it.
That's exactly what I did. And so I know my driver, I know what drives me. And so that drives me, even though it's not technically probably the best thing to drive you. But the same thing with my university degree. The one thing that drove me is I don't want to be fat. I want to prove myself. I'm not supposed to do it that way, but that's what drove me to get me to those results. And then you got to figure out what drives you next. And so that drove me to a certain point. Like, you got to figure out what drives you.
Yeah. And one of the things that, like, I think there's like some image of like somebody who makes like a 6-figure month, for example, has to fit in a box, right? Like you have to be like, I don't know, like you have to like be all fancy and luxurious. And I just love that you don't wear makeup, and because I don't really wear makeup. You have like,
I don't even have any.
and it's like you're like, you love your purple, so like you have your purple, you know, and it's just, you have such a cozy vibe, and you're just so real. Like you're like the one who's like feet in the sand and by the beaches, and you have the beach vibes or the palm tree vibes, and it's just so relatable that I think like for me, when I see that, I'm gonna say I can attune to that. Right. So I think it's like a breath of fresh air, because there's a lot of amazing coaches who, you know, are making, you know, the 6-figure months, but I'm like, whoa, do I have to be that in order to get there? So I feel like you're incredibly relatable, and you're fun. And I remember like when you were talking a while back, you were talking about being able to go deep and do all the shadow work. So it's not surfacey, because you're so energetic, but it was very awesome to know that you do the deep work, because that's how you get to where you are now.
Every day. And I love this, what you said about that, because I used to struggle because I'm like, I don't fit the mold of like what 100K looks like. Like I don't wear makeup. I kind of brush my hair occasionally. I've recently got addicted to getting my hair washed, just purely for pleasure, not for looks. You know, I just was like, I love getting my hair like my hair so much. So I don't fit the mold, and I used to think, I don't fit in, Jana equals doesn't fit in, Jana equals doesn't fit in, you don't fit the mold, Jana equals you're not that person, you're not that type, you're not the right person, you're not the right person, like you're just not right, that doesn't work. And then I was like, what if I'm the exemplary example that nothing should work, nothing about you should mean that you have 100K months, you have 6-figure months, nothing really adds up, as in you just show up with feet in the sand, you sometimes finish sentences, you have 50 million thoughts, you are totally an energetic explosion. You just show up on the internet and say whatever you want, and you don't even have any clarity as such, but you do, but you don't, but like, because it depends on the week, you don't even have a bio. When people ask you to be on a podcast, it's like, bio? Still to this day, it's like 7 years, you think I'd have one, don't have one. It's like maybe copy and paste my Instagram, but that kind of changes every week. I think everyone's like, I've got to have clarity because then I will be able to make it. I'm like, I've got to kind of look back at my clarity every now and then. Like, I'm okay with walking forward discombobulated, and I'm okay with moving forward without clarity. I'm very trusty, faithy, beliefy vibes. I walk forward with my trust. I walk forward with my belief, and I walk forward with my faith. And when I walk forward with holding good faith in myself and my big dreams, and the universe doesn't give me big dreams without my ability to achieve them, when I walk forward with that, I can do anything without matching and meeting any of the requirements that you're meant to have. This is what you're meant to do to have a 6 million month. This is how you're meant to be if you have a 6 million month. I don't have any designer stuff, but I so get that now. Like, I've recently had an epiphany around like designer stuff is like a representation for some women. That's what they choose to represent, what they can. They just can. So for me, at this point where I'm at, I just keep doing experiences. Experiences, it's like, because I can, because I can, because I can, because I can, because I can. And I get off it. I actually get off on not fitting the mold. And I always have. I love being a contrast. I love walking in unshowered,
Unshowered?
hair up in a bun, unshowered, hair up in a bun, no makeup on, in my dress that I'd actually worn as pajamas and bought a caravan in cash. I was like, I am such a contrast. No wonder he asked, what do we do? Because I look like a red hot mess. And I love it. I get off on it. I actually get off on it secretly. I'm like, yeah. Because they look at you kind of like, they're like, oh, these are not going to spend a time of day with these people. And I kind of get off on like surprising people. It's like, yeah, we'll put cash on that. I'm going to pay cash. What's your cash price? 60. No, 58. No, that's too low. That's what we're paying, or we leave. We need your business. Okay, we'll put it down to 58, and we save like $7 grand because we pay cash. But that's the thing. I like get off on that. I get such a high of surprising people.
Oh,
It's
that's
like
so amazing.
I'm driven by it.
I love it. So one of the things I love is like, can you teach this in belief ethics? So belief ethics is Jana's like one of her signature, like it's a 3-day course that repeats, right now it's repeating, that works on your beliefs. And one of the things that you get so excited about is when people are in resistance, because you're like, everybody is in resistance. So you get so excited. So can you explain resistance and why you love it?
I love this. I love it. Oh my God. It's like, I love that people can come to me and they're just like, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And they're like, I did not expect that. But also it neutralizes it and naturalizes it and normalizes it. I think that's one of the points that I'm here. Like my purpose is to make you feel capable. Like that's purely the purpose above all this. So you see me and you're like, I'm capable. She can do it. I can do it. That like I've got this capability of vibe. So it's like she has no clarity. She does 16 months. I can do it. She literally has no makeup on and she just shows up as herself. I can do it. She literally like everything I do and everything I am is a representation of capability. I forgot the question. Brain farts, capability. Resistance. There we go. Resistance is, oh my God. So resistance is everything that you have. Like this is what I believed about resistance. So back in the day with reading all the self-development and people throw around words like ego and alignment and resistance and sabotage like the same thing. And like they all are the same word. And I don't really like words being used for everything. I like them used for a specific, like they have a very specific meaning. I think alignment is what lost its meaning because everybody has, they say alignment for every single thing versus same as resistance and sabotage. I'm like, what's the difference between resistance and sabotage? And this was very early on. And when I started to work on, I've always seen like everybody has whatever you've been so-called quote pegged with as your disability, mine being ADD, but that is actually my ability. Same with, I used to say my kids, and I actually still do, a lot of people used to come to me back in my mummy blog days. They'd be like, I have 3 kids, so no, I can't, therefore I can't. I'm like, your kids are your ability. They're not your disability. And that's going to cause a lot of not good vibes if you're walking around thinking your kids are your disability for your big dreams instead of your ability. And I see my kids as my ability. They give me the drive. They give me the energy. They give me the purpose that I get to live my big dreams, not just for myself. I actually get to like spread it out. And yeah, so with that, I'm getting lots of that's right, resistance. And so I wanted to have really clear reference of resistance versus sabotage. And after all these years of working with clients, I started to recognize patterns, aka my ability, aka my strength. Seeing patterns is an ADD thing. You can really see patterns. And I started to see that women would be in a different vibe before achieving a big dream, but then they'd be in a different vibe after achieving a big dream. And there's these two little sides. There's resistance and then there's sabotage. And then there's a big dream at the middle. Like you achieve the big dream and then after you do this sabotagey thing. I'm like, that's different to resistance. Resistance is where we're doing different things. The resistance is fear. And then you achieve the big dream and then you go into sabotage. So sabotage is after the thing, you've achieved the thing you wanted. Resistance is before you've achieved the thing. So resistance is a little hard because you don't have the results to hold on to. You've only got faith to hold on to. So resistance for me, how I explain it to everybody so everybody sort of gets it, it's fear made manifest now. So you're living in the fears of your big dreams now before you actually have the big dreams to hold. Sabotage is different. Sabotage is you have the big dreams. Now you're having a crisis of confidence, a crisis of identity. Who am I now with this big dream? Resistance is fear made manifest. And so resistance shows up in all sorts of narky ways of being and showing you the forms of fear. So the fight and the flight and the freeze and the flee. And so that's what we have to live with pretty much every day. We're living in the fears of our big dreams, or of the fears of failing for our big dreams in the now. So we're literally like in this cesspool of fears every single day on the way to our big dreams. And it's supposed to be like, big dreams, journey is the best thing. It is, because you're working on those things, but only 99% of people, only 1% of people actually pass that precipice of resistance, you know, like full out to the full capacity. So yeah, resistance is my vibe, because when you can pin it, when you can see it, you can heal it. So that's why I love it when people see it for what it is.
That is so good. Yeah, like one of the cutest things during your Queens of the Internet talk was because you talked about resistance, and that was the first time I heard you talk about resistance in the way I'm like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. And you're like, everybody is in resistance, and because we all have big dreams, right? So if we don't have resistance, would you say like we don't have, like, what would you say to someone who like, I feel like I don't have resistance? Does it mean that I don't have big dreams?
Well, it means that you've got big dreams, but they're locked out the back, you know, that they're in a cupboard, because the pain of not feeling like you can achieve those big dreams feels worse. So a lot of the times we put things away and we don't want to go for our big dreams, because the belief so much is in that I can't do this, I can't do this. So we've got to look at us as like big dreamers. We're on the front lines of our big dreams, and we kind of think that we're loaded and laden with these beliefs, like they're debilitating beliefs. But what I've come to find is that everybody has those sorts of beliefs, but they've locked them away in a cupboard. They've locked those big dreams kind of away in a cupboard, and they can't really see them anymore. They have those beliefs, and they're debilitating beliefs that they're not fully living their life that they dream of, unless they're living their big dreams life. And that could just be that regular thing that we as big dreamers could never freaking imagine being happy with or content with or excited about. And when you take them out of the cupboard, like, it is fun for a second, but also you've got to look at the beliefs. You've got to look at the beliefs around those big dreams, and those big dreams are going to take some big beliefs to be able to, you know, make them come true. So I feel like everybody has big dreams. It just depends how close you are. So when people say, for example, my figure sixes in my dream team, my clients, they're closer to their big dreams. So they're closer to their biggest bottlenecking beliefs, which is intense. So resistance raises the closer you are to your big dreams. So it gets intensified. And a lot of people either run or stay with it. And that's the closer in proximity you are to your big dreams, the closer and more consistently you're living in resistance, because you're like, big dream, okay, let's go. Big dream, okay, let's go. So you're living in like 5 different timelines of resistance at the same time. That's intense. That's a lot of fear on a lot of levels and a lot of layers of generations and coding from your whole life to remove so you can move forward. It's a lot. It's intense. That's why only 1%. 10% do a 6-figure, make 6 figures in the world. I'm pretty sure that's like the vibe. And then 1% do the million. That's why only 1% move through the resistance to the million. 1% of people, and only 10% of people move through to get the 6 figures, because that's how many people drop off. It doesn't mean that there's not that many people wanting it. It's like they all want it, but they're not willing to go through the resistance. Because not one of my multiple 6-figure clients, or not one of my clients who's reached 6 figures, has got there without writing resistance. And I'm like, okay, I watch them. I'm like, do they have the stuff to move through this? Because I can see the big dream on the other side. And also I can remember what it's like to not have the big dream. And you're kind of like, this is ridiculous. I've lost my damn mind. Like, what am I doing? And if they can just keep going and growing it has no way but to show up if you've got the guts and the grit and the gratitude to take every lesson as it comes and have it and do it with grace. It just can't not work. But there is going to be times where it looks absolutely delusionally ridiculous. Okay, most of my life. And then you have a 6-figure month.
That is incredible. I love how you just explained it, because it's like everybody has big dreams. It's just how are we willing to face the resistance along the way and do the work? Because it's true, like shit does show up. And
it's intense.
It is intense.
Oh my God.
We all need Jana in our back pocket.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yay, resistance. It means we're moving forward. If you're not hitting resistance, you're not moving forward because you're in the big dreaming phase. Like, I'm big dreaming. I've got these ideas and I've got these big dreams. And then, oh, I can't really match my beliefs to that. Okay, let's do a bit of belief. Or I can, then you don't take the action. And so you're just like, I'm in big dreams land and belief building land, but didn't take the action. So every time you hit resistance, I know we're moving forward, even though it's like, fear, freeze, fight, flee. Like, if you're hitting fear, I know that you're moving forward. Whereas most people feel like I'm going backwards because I'm so debilitated.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like you're moving forward when you hit fear.
That is so good.
So close.
Okay. How much time do we have left?
I don't know.
We're at like, what time is it your time? God, it was like doing, my brain was hurting from doing the time zone. Okay, 9:06. So, okay. How do people learn more about you?
Oh my God, that's so, I get all so nervous and shy when people say that. Okay. And that, I guess that's like relatable and real because it's like, I don't know. No, you can find me at Jana Kingsford all over the internet. Come be a social butterfly. Don't be awkward. So you can pretty much everything is there. Just stay up to date with my socials and you'll know what's going on. And a lot of people, it's so funny. Last week, somebody came into my world and she's just like, I want to work with you, but I went to your website. You don't have one. And I'm like, I know you have programs, but I can't find them. Where are they? Like, I don't know what's happening. She's like, I heard something for 2,555, like for the dreams and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah. And she's like, no, I think I need one-on-one. Yeah, I need one-on-one. And she signed up with the client that day. And I really noticed in that day, I had another client going through that same thing where somebody had messaged her and say, I can't figure out where you've got your stuff. And she's like, and she went and fixed her website. I'm like, no, just talk to the person. Just talk to the person. Get off your damn website and go and message her back. You know, like she went there and I went there and I really noticed like that's not even in the realms of me thinking. I'm like, I'm in this with you right now and I'm talking with you right now. I'm not in whatever about the website. It's irrelevant. I'm having a communication with you right now. So I don't have this if, this, then that. But anyway, I'm going into a whole tangent. You can find me on the internet, on Facebook, Instagram, and I'm building my YouTube right now.
Yay.
Bigdreamstv.com.
Bigdreamstv.com. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And that goes to my YouTube. Go me. That's been like that actually for 7 years. Bigdreamstv.com leaves you there.
Oh, that's your domain, bigdreamstv.com.
Well, my YouTube domain. I got them redirected.
I love it.
Clever.
Okay, so I will put down all of your social media links in the show notes, so people know how to find you. And let's see what else. Okay, let's just say somebody, just like your last words of wisdom, your Jana nugget.
So yay, nuggets you can chew on.
So let's just say somebody, like they have like a whisper of a dream. Maybe they're in corporate world right now. What's your suggestion for like their first step of what they can do to start moving towards their big dream?
I feel like you getting a connection with the big dream, really getting in conversation and in communication with the big dream, because I feel like the big dream speaks to you, it whispers to you, it has something to say, and we can dismiss big dreams like, no, not for me, 6-figure months, no, 10K months, 6-figure business, yeah, sometimes, but no, that's not something I could do. I'm not that person. I'm not that kind of person that kind of thing happens to. just look at the big dreams that's tapping you on the shoulder, and allow it to whisper, and allow yourself to hear it whisper. But above all else, follow your nose to grow into your genius zone, and do what feels good this week, and set your dreams, be in communication and conversation with your big dreams. But in the interim, if you're not fully clear of what you want to do, follow your nose first. So years ago, the reason I am here now is I kept following what interests me now, what interests me now, what interests me now, what interests me now. And I followed it into my genius zone, because I started chasing my big dreams 14 years ago. And I started off, like, one of my businesses was an online wedding directory, which was after I had started a wedding makeup business. So it's just following my nose. I'm like, okay, wedding makeup business. No, I don't wear makeup. Okay. And then after that, I was like, online wedding directory. Okay. Like, blog. Okay. This is interesting me, but I'm not getting paid for it. Just go there. Okay. Do that. Figure out what's there. And then, this launching is interesting me. Go there. And then I created like a 6-figure course. And then it's like, this is interesting. And I just go from interest to interest to interest, and really play them right out until it opens the door to the next big dream. And that's where I start. I start with, like, follow your interests, like follow your nose, and you'll grow into your genius zone. It's not something you wake up and you have. It's something that it took me, if I look back to the whole trajectory, it's like, there was hints of big dreams at the beginning, like, at the beginning of my online business, Big Dreams TV, I didn't think anything of it, but I had a huge, in my personal branding, meltdown when I went from business to brand. I had to create and make myself into the big dreams girl on purpose, because that is what it had always been, without me noticing, but just following, like, little inklings, following the hunters, following my nose, and you grow into your genius zone. It just doesn't fall in lap. You got to take action when you're still growing into it.
Okay. So taking action and, like, following the things that, just, even if it's just a spark of interest, just follow it. Yeah. And one of the things I remember you telling me, like, you doing that next step is going to open doors to something else. So, like,
every big dream has that. Yeah.
Yeah. So take action. Thank you so much, Jana. You are incredible. I'm so happy you're my coach, and I love you too. And for all,
I'm so blessed. I feel so lucky.
Me too. So for all of the listeners, thank you for tuning in. Definitely, if this episode resonated with you, definitely tag us at Jana Kingsford, at michellewong.xo, tag us on Instagram, tag us on Facebook, tag us in the stories, and you'll definitely have us reshare it.
I love it. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Yay.
Thank you so much for having me. You're an amazing interviewer.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, everybody. Have a good one. Bye, Jana. Join our free private Facebook group community, Sacred Emergence, to receive more connection, guidance, and support. And take part in our 5-day Inner Confidence Challenge to not only boost your confidence, but to help activate your inner leadership. Details in the show notes. Thank you for listening to the Sacred Emergence podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and thank you in advance for sharing this with others who can benefit. Until next time.